What you're looking at right here is the brand new Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus, and it's probably the phone that I would recommend to the most people interested in Samsung's new lineup. It has the same features, the same chipset, and most of the same specs as the Ultra, and yet it costs about $300 less. So I had some time hands-on with this phone before launch, and I have some thoughts about it. Some things I like, some things I don't like, and a lot of new features that I want to discuss. But starting off with the design, you get a 6.7-inch Quad HD Plus, dynamic Amoled 2X, 120 Hertz, the normal Samsung display stuff. It's a good display, the same display we're seeing in last year's S24 Plus. But the phone comes in 4 colors, being Icyblue, navy, mint, and silver shadow. It's about 7 grams lighter than last year, it's a little bit slimmer, it's a little bit more round. It still has Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the front with color-matched armor aluminum rails on the edges. And as far as the design goes, there's not a whole lot that looks too different this year. Samsung's focusing a lot more on internal features that I'll explain later in the video. Of course, we still have the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor in there. We have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging on the back. And speaking of the back, the cameras are essentially the same as last year, at least the hardware is. We'll talk about the processing and some new features in a minute, but 50 megapixel primary lens, 12 megapixel ultrawide, and here's the kicker, a 10 megapixel telephoto lens, which is still the same one we've been seeing in the past. But we have some new features like nightography video, which uses the Pro Visual engine to do a double analysis on noise. So we should have very low noise and low blur on those dark videos. There's also 10-bit HDR video. There's audio eraser, which we saw on Pixels in the past. And I think this is a pretty cool feature that if you record something and there's like music in the background, there's a speaker, like somebody talking, and there's some wind, you can delineate all 3 of those and adjust the volume or just cut out any one of those 3 things. And of course, there's a bunch of generative stuff like generative edits. Magic Eraser has some pretty significant improvements in estimating and filling the background. And there's some other stuff like that. My only real drawback, like I said, so far on the design is that the telephoto camera feels like it's not quite up to 2025 standards. 10 megapixel for a 3x telephoto feels like Samsung's kind of trying to justify the Ultra if you want to zoom in. Now, talking about the internals of this phone, this is where it really shines. You're getting a lot of the same stuff as the Ultra. The Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, which is essentially the best Android chipset you can get this year. It is a 3nm chipset, so hopefully we can experience some better battery life on this. There's also 12 gigs of RAM on here, and the storage is either 256 or 512 gigabytes. And another thing to note, especially if you're doing a lot of gaming, is the vapor chamber is 15% larger on the S25 Plus compared to the S24 Plus. Of course, we're getting all the 5G bands, we're getting Wi-Fi 7, and we're getting a 4900 milliamp hour battery. And unlike the S25 base model, we also have ultra wideband on here. So if you have something like a Samsung Galaxy tag and you want precision finding, well, you can do that. So on the outside, it looks very similar to the S24 Plus, but as I mentioned, the features are going to be the key differences here. And there's really 4 big ones. The first one is what they call the Now Brief. And this is kind of a bundle of an evening brief, the morning brief, and like a little Now bar is what they're calling that. And essentially, this is the same feature that I really liked that was on the Pixel Watch. It is just at a glance, it'll tell you, like in the morning, for example, how well you slept, what the weather is, what meetings you have coming up, different things like that. It'll be on your lock screen, it'll be on a widget, and you can tap into that and see a lot more. Of course, at the end of the day, it's not going to tell you how well you slept last night. It'll tell you more like a summary of your day, maybe some photos you took, kind of like a journal almost. And this is something that ideally should be improving as you use the phone more and kind of learning more about you. So maybe it'll tell you like about a sporting event or an upcoming flight, give you driving directions to the airport, different things based on how you use it. That's number 1. Number 2, we have AI agents on here. So, I talked about Circle to Search a lot last year. It was my favorite feature on Android devices that iOS still doesn't really have. And now they're kind of doing a subtle improvement. They're adding audio as well. So if you want to identify a soundtrack in a video, you can do that very easily. And Samsung's adding their own feature this year called AI Select, which is not searching. It's not the same thing as Circle to Search. Instead, you can select something on your screen and you can translate it, you can copy text from it, you can summarize it, or probably the one that most people actually do is you can make GIFs from it. So if you wanted to make a GIF of me in this video, you could totally do that. Just swipe over from the right side, tap on AI Select, highlight this video, and then There you go. You can record it and you have a GIF of me if you wanted that for some reason. You also have AI search through your photo gallery, kind of self-explanatory, just natural language way to find photos. And you have AI search through the settings, which I think is pretty advantageous here because there are a lot of settings, and especially if there's ever redesigns and things get moved, again, just searching for it in natural language is pretty convenient. I wish they had more connection with like Good Lock. I think that there's a lot of advanced features that Samsung hides in Good Lock, which makes sense for the average user to not need those, but it would be nice if this AI search could say, hey, that setting doesn't exist, but there's a really cool setting that's similar that, if you get Good Lock, you can enable, like if you want a little option next to your screenshot to delete it, like go ahead and get Nice Shot or Registar or something like that. Number 3, the integrated AI platform. This is kind of a lame name for it in my opinion, but it's some cool features here. So if you long press and ask Gemini to do stuff, like long press the power button, it now connects to a lot of different apps on here. For example, you have like Spotify, WhatsApp, Google, Calendar, phone, notes, internet, like a lot of different things that are connected. And as you'd expect, you can work between all of those. So you can ask it to find restaurants nearby and text the list to your friend. You can ask it to, summarize a video, put it in Samsung Notes, or send that to a friend or something. I'm not sure exactly how far you can go and how complex you can make the commands. I'm sure in the future that will only improve. It's something that I think is exciting, but until I actually have my accounts logged in and I have a device in the studio, I can't be sure exactly how it's going to work. So if you want to see that, I definitely will be making an updated video about the S25 Plus. Be sure to get subscribed. In probably about a month of very heavy use and testing, I'll have a camera test, I'll have tests of this and other, basically every feature that you would want to know about. I'll be testing it heavily in that upcoming video. So number 4 is a personal data engine, essentially just personalized AI. The idea is that it should be learning from you and suggesting routines. Now, routines, if you're using like Bixby routines, can be very powerful. I know some of you right now are like, yeah, I use that all the time. And others are probably watching this like, I've literally never made a routine in my life. But whether that is, the weather, your internet usage, gallery, health, wallet, calendar, files, smart things, different parts of your home, obviously, this is all stuff that can be used in that personal data engine and suggest routines for you. And this, according to Samsung, is a separate chipset in the Galaxy Knox Vault, so it's all done on device, meaning other apps cannot request information about your home thermostat, but this can request from those other apps and bring it together and, like I said, create those routines and suggest things for you. So maybe that is, for example, every time you drive away from home, like you get to work and you turn on your robot vacuum, maybe you turn your lights down, maybe you, ask it to summarize your emails. Like these are all things that you could have it, like it would recognize that you do that regularly and say, hey, like you do this every day, want to just like make a routine out of it, and you can do that. And hopefully that would be something that could make it a lot more powerful and a lot easier, especially for those that don't already use a lot of those automations. Personally, I'm a big fan of automations. I love using them. I already kind of set up routines on my own, but I'm excited to see what kind of routines this would actually suggest after using it for a while. So like Samsung's main focus on this phone, especially with like 7 years of OS updates and 7 years of security updates, is they want this phone to hopefully get better with age. As the AI learns more about you, the phone should get better. Like it should be more useful and ideally like require you to do less hands-on stuff like that. And the price for this is actually not increasing. It's still $999, same as last year, but if you know where to look, you're not gonna be paying full price for this. If you wanna buy the phone, I recommend make use of the trade-in credits, the bonus, like if there's any other bonus credits, sometimes it's like at pre-order you can get $100 to use towards like earbuds or a watch or something. Sometimes there's student discounts. Sometimes there's just like free memory upgrades, all kinds of different things. And no matter what the best one is, I will have a link like right down to show you the S25, and then you can tap on that again. It'll bring you directly to Samsung, and at absolutely no extra cost to you, those are affiliate links, so they help to support the channel, to help me fund, research, buy a bunch of phones, test them, and of course, let me know in the comments what you would like me to compare this to. But in conclusion, I want to start off with the negatives, and then I'll talk about the positives. Negatives, I feel like Samsung's holding back on some key features that I would like to see rolled back to other parts of the flagship lineup, not just the Ultra. Like for example, the anti-reflective display is really a great technology, but it's not added to this phone. Also, the periscope lens, like I've been kind of ranting about earlier in the video, Like, how is this the only $1,000 Android smartphone that doesn't zoom in anywhere near 100x? But if you're saying to yourself, one, who cares about 100x zoom? Two, the anti-reflective display isn't worth an extra $300. And three, who needs an S Pen? Then yeah, this phone is definitely the phone for you to buy in the Samsung lineup. Like I said, I think it's a really happy medium option where you're getting the flagship chipset. Essentially, it does everything the Ultra does for a much more modest price. Same RAM, same storage, same features, same video capabilities, and technically a better pixel density on the display. I mean, I would say it's a solid phone, but a familiar phone. The features are going to be the main difference in the S25 Plus. But by the way, if you're interested in this lineup, they also came out with the S25, which is a lot smaller, and the S25 Ultra, and I had hands-on time with all three of the phones. I'm releasing all three videos at once, and if you want to see those videos, I'll have those pop up like right here, and if you want to pre-order and get those discounts I mentioned, please consider using my YouTube shopping link, wherever that is. It'll pop up either in the description or like right below here. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike O'Brien, and I'll see you in those other videos.